Welcome to Dementia-Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is Probate Services by Fanita Pegues, sponsored by Prince George's County Government and the Department of Family Services.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for taking time to join us this evening. I know your time is valuable. I really appreciate you attending my presentation. Before we start, I'm just going to read a disclaimer. Fanita Pegues, as a licensed realtor and certified probate real estate specialist, neither Fanita Pegues nor Keller Williams Preferred Properties provide accounting, tax, financial, or legal advice. The information provided in this presentation is a general basic overview of the probate estate process and tips to avoid mistakes. We recommend that you consult with the Prince George's County or the probate courts for appropriate information or a licensed professional for verification of data and additional information and advice. Okay, this presentation is helpful for individuals, caregivers, and family members. Next slide, please. Understanding the probate process and avoiding mistakes requires proper estate planning, which usually includes understanding how probate works and having appropriate documents in place, such as financial power of attorney, your last will and testament, and or a trust. The probate process is a legal process for the administration that is adhered to by the probate court, who supervises the settling of the deceased person's debts and taxes and orders the distribution of the property in accordance with the decedent's will and or if it's absence to the deceased person's heirs. The probate court has jurisdiction over the person representative or the executor and the decedent's estate. Next slide, please. Proper planning and preparation are the best practices to avoid delays, mistakes, and can reduce expenses associated with the administration of the estate. There are three critical documents that every adult should have in place, which include your last will and testament and or a trust, advanced medical directive, and your financial power of attorney. Your last will and testament is a written document that governs and directs the disposition of your assets and property after death. It helps to ensure that your financial wishes and desires are executed as planned in your will and directed accordingly. We recommend you always work with an attorney or a lawyer to help ensure that your will is properly prepared and helps to minimize the possibility of your will being challenged or contested in court. If a person dies without a will, then that's considered intestate. The state law will determine how the estate assets and the property will be distributed and are disposed of. When preparing your will, you decide what assets and property to include in your will, who will inherit your assets, and how the property will be disposed of. You also choose a personal representative or an executor to handle your estate after death. When selecting the personal representative or the executor, a backup should be also chosen for emergency situations or if something happens with the original. The personal representative and executor should be willing to do their job that's required to administer the estate. They should be trustworthy, a good communicator, hopefully lives nearby, but that's not mandatory, and also familiar with your financial assets. The personal representative or the executor is also entitled to be paid and compensated for their services. Always store your will in a safe and secure place and keep your will current and modify as needed. Life happens and situations changes. People get married, divorce, there may be additional births or loved ones in your family that you want to be included as beneficiaries and the heirs. So always keep your will current and probably review it at least annually. Your will must be signed, dated, and witnessed by two adults, 18 years or older, who are not beneficiaries in your estate. We recommend that you share your estate with your personal representative or the executor that you've chosen and appropriate family members. You may also store your will with the registry, with the local courts, Prince George's County, and they charge a minimum fee, which is only $5 to safekeep your will. The other document that would be helpful would be the advanced medical directive, also known as the living will. And this is where you include the name of the person you want to have selected to make decisions as your health care proxy. You also assign an alternate for backup purposes. The advanced medical directive gives direction for medical staff to properly attend to your medical needs when you are unable to respond, become terminally ill, or permanently unconscious. And it's good to have in place so that people know what you want to have done to you, to your physical body when you cannot talk for yourself. Select someone you trust and know will make the best decisions based upon your values, your beliefs, and preferences, and will most definitely follow the wishes that you have adhered to in your advanced medical directive. This directive must be witnessed and signed by 2 adults. Neither witness can be your healthcare proxy. At least one witness must have no financial interest, absolutely zero benefits from your death. Give a copy of your advanced medical directive to your healthcare proxy, your doctors, and appropriate family members. And this document also should be reviewed and modified, preferably on an annual basis. The other document that's critical to have in place is your financial power of attorney. And this is when you are unable to pay your bills to yourself. It provides direction, authority, given proxy to the person that you authorize to ensure that your financial obligations are met, your bills and creditors are paid properly and in a timely manner. And when you are unable to do so, they will take care of that for you. The power of attorney will become no longer valid upon death of the authorizer. That's when your will or your trust will take place and take precedent. Some of the benefits of planning and preparation for the estate process includes, it shows that it allows you to choose your assets and the property that you want to be distributed among loved ones. You choose who will be administrating of your estate to ensure that your desired wishes are carried out after death. That would be your personal representative or your executor. There's less confusion of who will receive your personal assets and possessions and how they should be disposed of after death. It also reduces friction and stress among family members. You really be surprised at what some family members do when it comes to dividing up the assets of the deceased. Some people steal, unfortunately, hide, take legal action, and some family members actually sue to take possession of the actual things that they want or they think that they're entitled to that are not spelled out in a legal document. And it could take literally years to settle. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 years, it could be as much as 5 or more years. Having these documents in place also reduces fees and expenses associated with selling the estate, saves time, prevents delays in closing the estate. And some estates, as I said before, can take years to settle because there either was no will or trust in place or it was not properly executed and prepared. That's why we recommend that it's best to work with a lawyer or a professional, someone that slices and understands the probate process. Okay, if there are any questions regarding those 3 documents, your last will and testament, your advanced medical directive, or financial power of attorney. All right, next slide, please. Responsibilities and duties of the personal representative and or executor. They need to understand how the probate process works, know their responsibilities, and be willing to complete the duties and responsibilities as spelled out in the will or the last will and testament. Some of these duties and responsibilities for the executor and the personal representative include that they are required to ensure that the directions provided in the will are properly executed, file the proper documents and petition for probate with the court. Court may require that a bond be filed and posted depending on the type of the estate. After the personal representative is appointed, then the letters of administration will be issued by the probate court. Other duties include notifying beneficiaries, taking inventory of all the assets and property, filing for life insurance, and if required, contact the Social Security Administration and return any checks that the decedent does not have an entitlement to. We recommend you work with an accountant or financial advisor to make sure that all tax issues are completed and filed with the appropriate state and federal authorities. And also the responsibilities include filing final documents with the court to finalize the estate. And then the personal representative and the executor will be responsible for distributing the assets and obtaining receipts from the beneficiaries and the heirs. All right, next slide, please. The personal representative or the executor must select the appropriate service providers to ensure that the estate assets are properly liquidated or disposed of in accordance with the will. Some assets may be tangible in nature, which include physical personal property like land, jewelry, artwork, furniture, household items, cars, anything that's of a physical nature. Intangible assets are the non-physical asset in nature that includes your bank accounts, your investments, your stocks and bonds, mutual funds, IRAs, pensions, and the other assets may include land and any of the real property affixed to the land. When selecting the service providers, we recommend that you work with individuals or professionals who are licensed and, if required, registered with the state. We often have family and friends that want to give us advice, give us referrals, give us their opinion and advice, which may or may not be correct or good for the particular situation and the estate. Some personal property will be distributed and or sold as directed in the will. Depending on the value of the property and the assets, it may require that you hire a professional appraiser or an auctioneer or a certified realtor in order for the estate assets and the property to be disposed of in a manner that the will has declared. There also may be minor duties that need to be completed that the executor and the person representative needs to make sure are done, and they may need to hire a local contractor, such as would involve cleaning up the home, disposing of trash and waste, and yard maintenance. Another service provider that would be required and helpful during the estate process would be the financial advisor or financial broker. And this is, even prior to setting up the estate, they can help you set up an investment plan, help you decide what investments are best for you and your family and members. The financial broker will also help with the sale of the estate assets as far as the investments, the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, the IRAs. And with regard to the real estate property, we recommend and say that it's best to work with a certified probate real estate specialist for the sale of the real estate property, the land. The certified probate real estate specialist will ensure that and provide professional advice. They understand the housing market, and they ensure that the real estate property will be sold for the highest value under the current market conditions. The certified probate real estate specialist will also provide comparative market analysis to show what the current value of the real estate property is, and also the market value that at the time of death, and this may be needed for tax reporting purposes. The certified probate real estate specialist is also familiar with the probate process, and they can help to make sure that the tasks associated with the tasks of closing the estate are properly done. I work with a team of specialists and a licensed professional whom I can refer. They can provide expert advice and assistance with setting up your will, your financial portfolio, and also assisting with the sale or liquidation of the estate assets and the real estate property. Okay, next slide, please. The slide before that, before closing, before that one. Yes, we're going to talk about securing the personal assets and real estate property, making sure that everything is protected and secure. The person representative of the executive will also be responsible for ensuring that the estate assets are, after taking the inventory, are properly and securely taken care of, ensuring that the personal assets, items of value, and the real estate property are physically secured and financially insured to protect against theft, loss, destruction, and or vandalism. So you want to make sure you have proper insurance to cover the value of the property, to make sure that it is secured and locked so that unauthorized people cannot have access to the property. Because a lot of times when the decedent has passed away, the property may be vacant, so you want to make sure that it's secured and protected. Next slide, please. Just a few points to recap for closing and some helpful information. Planning and proper administration are the best practices and essential to avoid delays, mistakes, and reduce expenses associated with the estate. You want to try and work with professionals. Well, you really want to. Don't try. You really want to work with professionals, lawyers, appraisers, financial planners, certified probate real estate agents who understand the probate process and can properly guide and lead you during the execution of the estate. Always prepare and keep your will, your financial power of attorney, and your investment or directive in a secure location and make them available to the appropriate individuals, such as your personal representative, your executor, your medical or financial proxy, your doctors, and select family members. Initial documents required by the court may include the original will if it's available, death certificate, names and addresses of the heirs, and anyone named in the will that will inherit something from the estate. Other documents may be required by the court after the appointment of the person representative, depending on the type of the estate. Next slide, please. Some additional tips to help during the final process, or even before then, is to try to declutter and clean up your files and possessions, because it's going to be hard enough when the loved one passes away. It's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of sadness. And if you have things in place and in order and with less waste and clutter, it'll be just easier for the family and the loved ones. Plan for adjustments, review your documents annually, modify as needed, because I said, life happens and things change. Discuss your final exit plans with your loved ones and your family members so they won't be in shock and awe, mad and upset, just so people can have an understanding of what you want to have done when you are no longer available and your estate, takes place. Keep a list of your important documents and people that you contact regularly as far as financial and personal issues, like your personal representative or your executor, your attorney, medical and financial proxy, and keep a detailed list of your assets and property as far as your real estate, your bank accounts, life insurance, investments, retirement accounts, and pensions. Ensure that only appropriate individuals whom you trust and will have access to your passwords, your financial data, your documents, and computer files. Always safeguard your financial data, files, and information. Keep them in a secure, fireproof container or at a bank, safe deposit box. Theft is prevalent, is real. It happens every day. People work regularly, just like the normal person goes to work from 9 to 5. There are people that hack the financial system and hack computers on a regular basis, 24/7, stealing and selling financial data. I recommend that you contact all 3 credit bureaus and have your Social Security number frozen. Only have it opened and available when you want to apply for a line of credit. Otherwise, keep it frozen. Add a second level of verification for all of your financial accounts. This is where your financial institution will text you or email you a special code that allows you to have access to your account online or on your phone. It's just an added protection, a layer of protection. Believe me, theft is real, because I've had my account violated so many times. I have to meet with the IRS because they try to use my Social Security number to file taxes. They stolen information regarding my bank accounts, and I just keep everything frozen. And I check my account on a regular basis just to make sure nothing looks strange or like improper. All right, that's it for now. And let's ask that you share this information with family and friends and colleagues. And if you have any questions or concerns, my information is in the beginning of the presentation, also at the end. I've also included some resources. Next slide, please.
I have a question.
Yes.
The question is, travelers dropped coverage after they found out home or owner died. Can a house in probate get house hazard insurance?
If there's a mortgage on a home, there definitely should be insurance. And I would recommend that you have insurance, because the home, there could be a fire, there could be a storm, there could be any type of natural disaster. You want to have the property secured physically and financially. And I would call around and get estimates, because most of the time when someone dies, the home may be vacant. And that, if you're the administrator or the executor, you want to check on that property at least on a weekly basis. That's why we recommend that the administrator or executor be someone that's local, that can take care and oversee the property, the physical assets and the not intangible assets that's on the internet system, as far as like your investments, your stocks and bonds. But you definitely want to have the physical property secured and insured, because if something happens, it just would be a sad situation.
There was an add-on to that question, and it says there's no mortgage.
If there's no mortgage, what's the question? You still need to have physical insurance, because there may be a fire, as I said before. There could be theft and vandalism. There could be a natural disaster, hailstorm, anything that could destroy that property or make it less movable or less sellable, or if you want to dispose of it, or if someone else in the family has been allowed to live in the property or benefits or inherits the property. You want to keep it safe and secure. That means having insurance on the property. even if there is no mortgage. I mean, not having a mortgage can be a good and bad thing, because if someone enters that property and it's vacant and they just start living in it as squatters, sometimes squatters can try to sue and take possession because no one's tried to have them removed. So you want to have the property insured. You want to check on the property on a regular basis, and you want to make sure that you're doing your duties and responsibilities as the executor or the administrator. Does that help answer that question regarding insurance?
I hope it does. They didn't say anything after.
Okay, they can feel free to call me. I'm available if they have questions. Any other questions?
Nope.
Well, I hope this information was helpful. Like I said, it was a broad overview of the probate process. I provided, the next screen will show some resources available. It's definitely not all-inclusive. You can also Google for additional information. You can contact Ms. Dominique. I'm sure she has contact information that helps with the seniors and elderlies. And like I said, my presentation could be made available for those that wish to have it. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to call me, email me, or text me. There's also, next screen, there's some terms and definitions that are helpful when dealing with the states. This is definitely not all-inclusive. It's just a brief summary of some of the terms and definitions that is used when you're referring to the estate process. And the next screen is my contact information. Please share my information, share the presentation, and as I said, feel free to call me or contact me. With no other questions, I just want to thank you again for joining us, and hope this information was helpful and beneficial. And everyone have a great evening, and be safe and take care.